This is a headline you can hardly believe that you're actually saying out loud or reading. The President of the United States threatening to sue the BBC for $1 billion. I mean, what are they going to do at the BBC? They've got till 10 o'clock on Friday night, which is, by my reckoning, about 85 hours, and the clock's ticking. What are they going to do?
Well, Kevin and I are both veterans of getting lawyers' letters about stuff we've written over the years.
So join the club, yeah.
Right, just describe that feeling when the lawyer letter arrives.
Well, it's not great, but then sometimes you read the letter, you think, good try.
Yeah. Right.
But other times you think,
whoops.
And so this will cause huge consternation at the BBC because it's worldwide. The BBC's reputation is worldwide. He is the President of the United States. He's the most powerful man in the world. He's got very deep pockets. He's also litigious.
Yes.
And he will get his correction.
He tends to win.
And he'll get his apology.
He tends to win.
Because they got it wrong. They got it wrong. They got that video wrong. Hang on, Kevin. Hang on. They got it wrong. As Andrew Marr said very elegantly on your programme yesterday, the former BBC Secretary, it was designed to deceive.
He should get an apology for the bad edit, the 12, 15 seconds in an hour-long programme a year ago. He should get no money. Say, look, we'll see you in the High Court next Monday and bring him over. First of all, it's
not going to be here in the UK because the statute of limitations is expired on a libel claim here in the UK.
If you're going to be defamed, you need a reputation to lose. Look, he's just pardoned. The real story is he's just pardoned more than 70 of his own supporters who were accused in the US of trying to invent fake electors to steal the election he lost. It feels like a coup against the BBC, this. And in the States, we've seen he's bullied and he's intimidated, trying to ground down so many parts of the media over there, newspapers and broadcasters, with legal claims.
Do you think the BBC will be tempted to stand up to him and say, OK, we'll see you in court, because we don't believe, we admit it was a misleading edit and that was a mistake. They've already said that. But do you think that they'll say, we want to see what evidence you have that this was reputationally damaging and caused you harm? Or in a Florida court, which it looks like that's the place where it would be heard, Florida might go, oh, yeah, you definitely harmed our president.
Well, bearing in mind this documentary was broadcast about 3 weeks before the election, which he then won substantially and well. So it didn't impact him in his job, did it? It didn't impact him in his job.
Right, so you've already knocked down one claim of reputational harm.
Because it's an important part of it. He won the election convincing. How many people in the United States who voted in that election saw it? That would be other things he'd have to argue. There would be some, but would it have made a material difference? Not much. And I think they will just realise we don't want this fight with him because he won't go away because they've got it wrong. Samir Shah, the chairman, has said in that letter to the MPs yesterday, we got it wrong and he's apologised. They will have to do what we would say in the newspaper, we would publish a correction.
Yes.
On the such and such a date.
I know, but in a small box on page 7.
No, we put ours on page 2 now.
OK.
Oh, no,
on
page 2, yeah, there it is, for all to see.
The reason they're page 2...
Don't miss that on the way to page 3.
But the reason they're in the same place every day, if there are corrections. The Guardian, which is probably the most high-minded of the UK papers, put them all in the same place so you can see if anything...
Page 40, I think.
Yeah, if anything needs clarified or correct. That's why...
Page 40.
Trump's not going to put up with a page 40 correction, is he?
If it was really defamatory to him and had really hindered him, apart from the fact he won the election, as you say, he would have known about it a year ago and somebody would have said, I saw it. Yeah. So you can see a mountain is now being made out of a molehill. And that's not to say editorial standards matter. And the BBC, somebody made a very bad judgment.
They did.
A very bad judgment, and the BBC's handled the complaint badly and should have sorted this earlier and publicly stated it. But it's under attack from the right because the whole perspective of this 19-page attack was from a right-wing perspective. All of it was. None of it was coming back saying poor people or people who are black in Britain, or trade unions, they feel they've been misrepresented. It was all from the right wing. They've been...
Do you think that Michael Prescott, the person who compiled the document, would accept that?
I don't think he would.
No.
He was a Sunday Times political editor. I've known Michael for many years.
Sunday Times.
Hang on, you worked for the Daily Telegraph for a while, Kevin. You weren't a cheerleading, which is run this stuff. You weren't a cheerleading Tory.
I was never a political editor, and political editors are very political appointments with small p.
I don't know what Michael Prescott's politics are. People would know what mine are, I would not know what Michael Prescott's politics are at all, and I think he would reject...
Well, he was appointed by the BBC to make that report.
He was.
And you see all the reports, it was Robbie Gibb, who was Theresa May's chief spin doctor, who pushed for him to be appointed, has led the attacks on the BBC on the basis of his memo. They're said to be friends. Now, you can get too far of a conspiracy theory, but put it this way. Can you... Robbie Gibb, he was the chief spin doctor, Theresa May, for the Conservatives in number 10. Can you imagine if Labour had put Alistair Campbell on the board of the BBC? There would have been an absolute outcry, and quite rightly, and yet they got away in the Boris Johnson regime of putting Theresa May's chief spin doctor.
Boris Johnson did not appoint a governor of the BBC. The BBC appointed Robbie Gibb. It was not the Prime Minister of the day.
All right, guys, before we go down this particular rabbit hole...
Yes, let's draw it back for the viewers.
I want to talk about I would like to talk about the apology that was made yesterday by Sam Isham, the chairman. He referred to an error of judgment. The BBC News programmes consistently refer to what happened as a mistake. A lot of criticism across the board this morning, the use of that language. Some people are calling it Orwellian, that it doesn't go far enough in describing what actually happened on that Panorama programme.
What are people suggesting that he should have said?
It was, well, what Andrew Marr said. It was a deliberate deception and it's unacceptable.
But do you think it was, Kevin?
Yeah, I do.
Deliberate deception?
I do.
But it wasn't a deliberate deception over the overall position, which is Trump wouldn't accept the result of an election he lost fairly and squarely. All his legal actions went down in the US. And he did want all his people to go and stop the election being certified and say, look, this is the election result and you're not going to be president anymore. We got a new president, Joe Biden. He did say all that. And he did... You could quote from other bits of the speech on his saying, you've got to fight and fight and fight, you know, you've got to lose.
But he did not incite his supporters to use violence.
It was dishonest.
It was.
As you say, to quote Andrew Marr, who's an extremely respected former political editor of the BBC, he said 3 times in our interview with him yesterday, and he's got no axe to grind at all, no political axe to grind. He said that he thought it was anymore. He thought it was deliberate deception, and I agree with him 100%.
I agree.
It was a deliberate.
And I called it a television lie. It was a television lie. And if we'd written that on the front page of the Daily Mail, we'd have to have apologised.
Come on.
And here's the difference between a mistake and Here's the difference between a mistake and an intentional lie. It's a bit like driving. If I'm done for doing 34 and a 30 because I think it's a 40, well, that's my bad luck, but it's a mistake. But if I'm done for doing 120 down the motorway, then that's lousy driving. That's serious driving.
But do we know? Right, it's a bad edit and it's wrong and you've got to apologise for that. But it's been a bad judgment. But do you know somebody did it deliberately to misrepresent?
Well, hang on.
Or they've been sloppy and careless.
Hang on, you think it's an accident? You think it was an accident that you took a clip from an hour into the speech and bolted it to a quote in a different context an hour earlier?
I am asking for... We don't know, because we don't know who's done it. I'm asking for the evidence. Everyone's jumping to huge conclusions.
So what do you think might have happened then on the innocent side?
It could have been that somebody's making it and have just made a mistake. Well, he's made this speech. Clearly he's found in the US to have incited them to march on the Capitol. So you put the two bits together, which he did in his speech. You haven't invented his words. What they've done is they've taken out other words in between, including some of them that were very incendiary as well. And it may have been an error. It's a mistake, undoubtedly. It may have been an error, more honestly made than somebody decided.
And let's remember as well, Richard, hang on, Kevin.
40 years of journalism, I know people make honest mistakes.
Of course they do.
After that phrase, and after they'd knitted that phrase about inciting people to take up arms, whatever, we then see the marchers marching on Capitol Hill as if they were responding to what he said, and we know that they've gone marching to Capitol Hill an hour earlier.
I feel like we're in Groundhog Day, because I feel like yesterday morning we had this exact argument and clearly not going to agree. But the point is...
We don't know anymore.
And they should tell us.
Yeah, the point is...
I agree.
...that there is a deadline on Friday night. If the BBC delivers what the President suggests, which is a grovelling apology to say we utterly got this wrong, does that open the door for other people who feel that they are wronged by the BBC, that the BBC is biased against them, will also ask for grovelling apologies? Because it does... You can't treat the president differently to other people who feel they're badly treated by the BBC.
I think you end up doing that because he's got a huge bully pulpit and he is prepared to use it. So I think the truth is he's got very deep pockets too.
So you become biased towards people who've got a lot of money.
And if you...
Well, it's not the money, I think. It's the platform he's got. It's the platform he's got. They're not going to pay him damages, in my view. They maybe could make a donation to charity or something, but it's the platform he's got, the White House. His press secretary every day can keep saying this stuff, and it's reputationally damaging for the BBC. It is, and it's their own fault because they've had 6 months to sort this mess out, and they ignored it.
Yeah, it looks like they didn't quite realise how big an issue it was going to be.
How could you not realise?
But in terms of
misrepresenting the president.
In terms of a possible settlement, if the BBC do make a cash offer, as it were, to sort of make this go away, here's a typical quote from our viewers. This is Susan, who's emailed us to say, well, as long as they don't expect us taxpayers to stump this up, it's the BBC's mistake, it's their pockets, not ours. Well, no, it is our pockets.
I'm afraid it will come out.
We fund the BBC.
It will come out of the licence fee money, because that's the only money... They earn money commercially, but I think that would probably be... I don't know if that's in a different budget.
They make money commercially and selling programmes around the world. But no, ultimately, the BBC is publicly owned, so it is our money. And I think it will be obscene to give that liar...
We're running a poll this morning. I'm not sure what the latest result is about whether you still trust the BBC. Can you trust the BBC? And the answer, no, has got 80%.
Wow, that's 82%. Hugely damaging.
But that's because that's from people who are motivated to vote on these polls, because all the other polling shows it's the most trusted news source.
He won't have it, will he?
No, because
that's pretty overwhelming.
It is
80%.
That is the response.
You're watching, Andrew, if you're watching Sophie Rayworth deliver the 6 o'clock news in the evening, do you really not trust what she's telling you?
You begin to think, is what she's reading as accurate as it should be?
What do you think, Kevin?
Well, I think, I normally say that'll be well researched, and yes, I will trust. I might
absolutely trust her.
I might question to some extent. But the people on polls on Twitter and X are just in this.
But this dossier in which we discovered the misrepresentation of the president also makes serious allegations about the BBC's coverage of Gaza, about anti-Semitism. It also says that the BBC's been enthralled to the trans lobby, and that serious, important stories that mainstream media like this channel, this programme have covered, have been ignored by the BBC because of a small cabal of LGBT activists who are reporters have blocked it. That is very serious. That is very serious.
And it didn't address any of the accusations that there is an Islamophobia that you get from the other side. And, for instance, the programme on medics under attack, which Channel 4 subsequently showed, the BBC should have. So it can come the other way, which is why it comes back, and the thought of a coup and the claims is because all the criticisms were from one direction of the BBC. Now, the BBC can be criticised from all directions.
Yes, It's never going to reflect everybody's view, is it?
Let's jump tracks now. We spoke to Gordon Brown, didn't we, yesterday on the programme, former Chancellor Prime Minister.
Wasn't he relaxed?
Wasn't he?
Wasn't he relaxed?
I thought he was a very entertaining guest, actually. It was almost like a showbiz guest on the show. Yeah. But anyway, we talked to him about the rumours that the Chancellor might be lifting the two-child benefit cap, and this was the conversation. You told Rachel Reeves that you think she should abolish the two-child benefit cap?
I think so, yes. And I think she is... Look, Rachel Reeves has a really difficult... I mean, I did 11 budgets and I was Chancellor for 10 years. Yeah. And I was actually the longest-serving Chancellor. The other guy who was the longest-serving abolished income tax, and it wasn't easy for me to do that.
And we hear this morning, it's been widely reported that she is probably going to absolutely abolish the child benefit cap.
Not income tax, but lift the two-child benefit cap.
Yeah, well, it's kind of, give and take in that way if she does it. But he's made formal representations. I've seen the letters he's sent in to the Treasury that have been released. And he's also lobbied very privately ahead of a big coalition. And that cap is heinous because...
It was brought in after he left office.
Yes, it was brought in by
George
Osborne.
Who was David Cameron's chancellor.
And what it means is any means-tested benefit, if you have more than 2 children, you don't get it. It's had no impact on the size of families, but what it has done is it's plunged something like, I think the Institute of Fiscal Studies reckon you can take 500,000 kids out of poverty if you abolish this cap. It'll cost £3 billion, which she will, I think,
use the income tax rights.
Yeah, although there are other ways of getting the money. Gordon Brown would argue gambling taxes. You can do it that way. You don't have to break that manifesto pledge on that. But if she did lift it, it'd be the right thing to do. And polls show, if you say, do you think the benefit cap should be there because if you can't afford children, don't have them, people say yes. But if you say, should we take kids out of poverty, people say yes. So there's a contradiction in people's positions. And many of the people who are saying don't have kids if you can't afford them, well, actually, they're getting child benefit. They're getting free childcare. They're getting their kids in schools.
Here's the quote from yesterday from Rachel Reeves. She says, I don't think a child should be penalised through being in a bigger family for no fault of their own. That's a pretty clear hint, isn't it?
It is, but this is going to cost billions, and a lot of people will think...
$3 billion, apparently.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, and there isn't any money, and they're meant to be... Where's it coming from? OK, so we're going to tax people more money, are we? People on the basic rate of income tax. You're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and there will be this strong argument that says, I'm sorry, if you can't afford them all, kids, don't have them.
Except,
why should the state subsidise it?
Reform would also do this if Reform got into government, but with conditions.
Yeah, well, they changed their position.
They have.
Yes,
now,
they were going to lift it completely.
Both of your parents would need to be working rather than now, because the majority of kids in poverty in Britain, something like between 1 in 5 and 1 in 3, up to 4.5 million kids are classed as in poverty. The majority of them are in households with a parent working.
Yeah.
She's also politically in so much trouble with her own party. She's got to give them something. And I think a lot of this, I'm afraid...
This is popular with the backbenchers.
Very popular with the backbenchers.
It's the moral right thing to do.
Well, I think it's all about the politics. She didn't do it last year.
The welfare bill, that's the thing, isn't it?
She could have done it in the last budget.
And she tried to cut the welfare bill.
It's also the pragmatic, practical move as well as moral, because those kids' lives will be blighted forever.
She didn't do it a year ago.
By poverty.
How has she suddenly seen the light?
So they won't do as well at school, and they will be less productive citizens, earning less and paying less tax as they go through life.
OK. Have either of you, Ranveer, had a parcel nicked from your porch? I've had 2. We've had 2 nicked.
Well, give them back. I don't live up his way.
I'm a rare creature. I never ordered from Amazon, ever.
No, it's everybody.
However, I live in a flat and I've got my own front garden, and boxes regularly are put outside my front door for people upstairs, and they do go missing.
Yeah. I had to look the other day. This is very much a journalist's dilemma. I opened my front door to see that my newspapers, the entire stack had gone.
Oh, no.
And so I had a little look on the doorbell camera, and I noticed some chap had come along on a bike.
No.
And just, quite brazenly gone along and stolen my entire set of papers. So not really an Amazon parcel or an every delivery, but someone decided they needed to read all the papers to get a very impartial and broad
It's been 25, 30 quid's worth if you had them all taken, actually.
I think he wanted to read my stories, not yours.
That's right. He wanted to be up to speed with what you were saying in the morning, and you as well.
Yes,
of course. You write for the
I have a column as well. Yeah, thank you. I want my paper to be stolen too. Listen, I asked the question because these new figures have been revealed that show that £666.5 million worth of parcels were nicked in the last 12 months. That's up 31% on the year before, so it's becoming a big crime. You just have to get out there as soon as you hear the thump.
Well, it is.
Well, but of course you're not usually in. They leave the parcel, don't they?
Yeah, you need arrangements with your neighbours or something, or a safe place to.
Well, I think that the figures might have been released by a locker company. I don't know that for sure, but of course there is, the option to get a locker.
Or if you have time, there's the option to use the high street.
Yes. Yes, and I'm sure the high street retailers would thank you for saying that, Andrew.
The high street is dying.
But how can you call them porch parents? Who has a porch? I would have thought a small... I mean, if you've got a porch, lovely.
It's journalese. It's a nice piece of alliteration.
It's not,
Pirates, yeah.
What about David Lammy? He's going to be making a statement later today about this.
People keep going missing from his porch, don't
Absolutely.
they? From the prison's porches.
They're either walking out of jail, 4 now, in the last couple of weeks, or the prison service are miscounting them. There's one guy that they thought had run away, and he was there all the time, in his cell.
His performance at Prime Minister's Questions last week, I've seen some shockers in the Commons. I do not recall a more embarrassing, toe-curling debut at the Dispatch box. It was horrendous. He refused to answer the questions. He had the answers in his brief in front of him.
Poor.
He was Kevin, it was an appalling...
It was poor. Look.
Shouting and hollering like a lunatic.
But the prison and the court service have been releasing people in 3 figures, more than 100 people a year for some time.
Yeah, but it's gone up 128%
You can't quite get your head around it.
128% increase.
A lot of it is it's paper-based.
Yeah.
And it's
not digitalised, is it?
You just can't believe it. If you're arrested and you're in a cell, or you would have thought you'd just have a record. It says, I don't know, red for stay, green for go, or whatever. But
they let one bloke out the day he was put in.
You can't.
I don't think you even got him in the cell.
But you did. Your lot did cut the judicial system to the bone.
You can't blame the Tories for this, Maguire.
And the number of prison officers plummeted, but most crucially, the number of experienced prison officers went down even faster, those who knew how to operate the system.
How do we fix this, apart from building a massive new
I think
prison
a lot of the problem
that holds people and you don't then early release?
The prison service, the prison officers will tell you, part of the problem is this government's decision to release early so many prisoners. That's caused the problem.
Which they say is because there aren't enough prison places.
Yeah, inherited from you.
Yeah. But that's where the problem is, and that's why the numbers increase so dramatically, because we're letting out so many people early, they're letting out the wrong ones.
You've got to have more and more checks. Now, of course, one of those let out under David Lammy's time, and he brought in tougher restrictions.
Said the prison governor should be on site when the prisoners are released.
Well, you would have thought, just checking.
Yes.
I mean, when you board an aeroplane, they look at your ticket and your passport several times. If you're coming out of prison, they should be making sure.
Well, you need the chairman of Ryanair on the plane, do you?
There's a big problem. A lot of the mistakes are already in the system, and it's very hard to stop them unless you review every single
we're chuckling about it, but it's undermining confidence, and the public worry about these things. When sex offenders are released, that's alarming.
Totally right. It's all a calamity until it's actually the person who committed the crime against you, and then it's catastrophe.
Really? Particularly you're the victim of that sex offender, and then you read he's out.
Or they commit another crime.
Yes, absolutely.
That's happened in the past, unfortunately.
Although I have to say, Matt, the Telegraph's cartoonist, is, for my money, one of the funniest cartoonists on Fleet Street. He's great, isn't he? He had a cartoon yesterday showing a lone prisoner talking to the guards behind bars, saying, well, we were planning a mass breakup, and they've all walked away. That was great. Talk about driving tests.
Oh, yes. OK.
The AA has obtained statistics from the DVLA under a Freedom of Information request showing these extraordinary statistics. One learner driver finally passed his driving theory, or her driving theory, on their 75th attempt. 75 attempts to get driving theory right.
Try.
Shouldn't it be 10 strikes and you're out?
And each test costs £23, so, I mean, it must have cost them an absolute fortune. Another learner has taken their actual driving test 128 times without success. It begs the question, should there be a limit? Because if you can't pass your test after 128
I think it's enough.
maybe you shouldn't be driving.
Well, that learner is still trying, because it's 128 times, as you say, without success. I mean, there might have been a few more times
I'm going to applaud the fact they are a steer. And I'm not going to give up. That's what I'm going to do.
Did you pass first time?
I did, actually, yeah.
Second.
Of course you did.
Right.
We've got some tests for you.
Oh, no, here we go.
Oh,
no.
Here are some examples.
It's like when you get the schools minister on and you give them a maths test.
Remember, back in the day, though, you just got asked a couple of questions by the
instructor,
examiner,
at the end of the test.
Right.
Yes.
That's right.
And it's
3 or 4.
This is a whole theory test now. You have to pass before you're allowed to take your
there were no
actual driving
eyesight tests. It was, can you see that elephant in the middle of the road? Yes, I can. There you are. You're all right.
I'm going to be the examiner. Here we go with the question.
Okay,
you were driving on an open road in dry weather. What distance should you keep from the vehicle in front?
Well, you haven't even asked the question which is on screen, so that's the first problem we've got this morning. How do we have a chance of answering these correctly?
What shape... All right, go back to that caption. We've got ourselves in a muddle here, but let's get it straight. What shape are traffic signs giving orders? There's one shape there that's actually giving you an order. The rest are advice.
Laura's shouting from the corner.
What is it, Laura?
D.
D.
The circle, absolutely.
That's where you get the number in, like 20, 30.
That's the one. Let's have another one then. I'll go with the pictures rather than my script. All right, can you read that, because it's too far for me.
Right, we've failed an eyesight test. It's not going well at the moment, is it? What does this sign mean? Does it mean two-way traffic straight ahead, two-way traffic crosses a two-way road, two-way traffic over a bridge, two-way traffic crosses a one-way road? Laura D with the right answer.
What a swat. It reminds me of that. Yeah, those kids.
I'm very glad she's here, because I was going to say A. I was going to say A.
The one that we started with, OK. What distance should you keep from the vehicle in front in normal, decent weather? Is it a 2-second time gap, 1 car length, 2 metres, or 2 car lengths?
2 car lengths.
I was going to say D again.
2 cars. What's Laura saying?
D?
Is the wrong answer.
What? It's either 2 seconds or 2 cars,
it's
isn't
2
it?
seconds.
Oh, is it?
2 seconds, because, of course, you're only at different speeds.
Yeah.
So 2 car lengths at 30 is not going to be great at 70. So
all right, we failed. But more heartily, so has Laura.
How on earth do you know if you're 2 seconds away from the car in front?
Driving along, and the car in front goes past, say, goes under a bridge.
Yeah.
You count 1, 2, you go under the bridge. You think, good, I'm 2 seconds behind. Or if you go 1, and you're under the bridge, you're too close.
I like those chevrons that used to be. I don't know if you still see the arrows sometimes. You have 2 arrows between you and the next car on certain roads, and I am quite like that, because it's a visual, you know, sign.
On the motorways,
yes,
on the A roads, because on the motorway it's 2 car lengths, isn't it? Or am I going to fail?
I think...
Don't get there, Susanna. You may fail.
At 70 miles an hour, you'd struggle to stop.
On the motorway, 2 seconds should be 2 car lengths at 70 miles an hour.
I would fail the highway code now, because I hardly ever drive. I would fail it. Would you?
Well, just have there. No,
do you have to get 100% on the highway code? You probably do.
I've driven 42 years and I've never had any points. I did have 1 crash early on, but that was because a wasp blew in the car.
Touch wood, touch wood.
Yeah, touch wood, touch wood.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to tempt fate.
Yeah, exactly right.